sometimes the best
worked.
lines are ones that feel like, for instance, in 300 when you know this is Sparta.
Yeah.
Like that was a bizarre line to say, and I tried it so many different. I tried this is Sparta, this is, and we finished. We were about to move on, and I said to the director, "Hold on." I said to Zack, "Wait, can I just try one?" They were literally moving cameras. I goes, "I know I'm being a pain. Just put the cameras back." And he's like, "What are you going to do?" I says, "Just," and then in, we go, "Action now. This is Sparta." And I kick the guy, and we go, "Cut." And I turn around, and all the stuntmen are laughing, right? They're literally like, and I go up to Zack, and I go, "That was too much." He goes, "Yeah, but it was awesome." And that became the, you know,
That sounds like
line.
Zack. Were you supposed to kick the guy? Was that
Yes.
supposed? Okay, cool.
No, that was supposed to happen, but I don't think
Awesome.
anybody expected that line to be. If I hadn't done it that way, it would probably have been, "This is Sparta," like that.
Needs to happen the way it was in the movie.
Overact, over the top, scream it out.
Well,
It'll be remembered.
Snyder's a freaking genius. I could go on about him all day long. I mean, that scene, that whole movie was just brilliant. Frank Miller is a freaking genius. So I'm a big fan of filmmaking. We're mentioning Zack Snyder. I'm curious, when the submarine is submerging in the water and you guys are leaning back, how is that being done on set? How are you not falling over? Are there wires? How are they pulling that shot off?
No, believe it or not, we built the whole set, and we're talking about 15, 17 tons on a gimbal. So there was this huge hydraulic platform, massive, that could take the whole, and we're talking the control room with all the equipment, all the camera equipment, and then other rooms like captain's quarters and you know, into this kind of docking bay to the attachment stuff, all these different parts in the hallways of a sub, all on a gimbal, so that when we dive, it goes forward. Because we noticed that on the sub when we first dive, that you lean right back.
Yeah.
You can go at about a 30-degree angle. And same going up, you lean forward.
So that's naturally happening.
That was natural, yeah. You think you're going to fall back, but you don't. So it was one of the things that we could really help with. If we're making a submarine movie, what can we bring new to the genre and bring it into the 21st century? So obviously it's new state-of-the-art subs, you know, ultra high technology and different. There's no more periscope. It's all these multi-information LCD screens and digital maps, and you know, and one of the things that we could do technically was build platforms so that you didn't have to do the Star Trek. You know, you could literally move, and as the torpedo chases, the subs moving all. We're being jolted all around the place.
So I was going to ask you, when impacts happened or things happen, would you guys actually feel that on set? That would actually be occurring?
Certain impacts, absolutely. We could jolt it, you know, and then some you obviously have to exaggerate, because if you're being hit by, you know, a torpedo that's like 15 yards away, it's hard for even a gimbal to recreate that, you know. So there's an element of like jumping, and then special effects that gave that, what do you call that, combustion effect, you know, where you kind of that works so well in our movie, because there's a lot of crazy action where you see those patterns from torpedo explosions. You know, that's the other thing I thought that we really updated this in terms of CGI was the torpedo explosions, subs exploding, and then inside explosions as well.
You know, one of the cool things I like about this movie is your character's decision to actually go with his gut and his instinct versus going with maybe what the protocol would say. And they said you're going to be court-martialed in this one moment for the decision you're making to utilize this Russian person Russian captain to help you out with this situation. Yeah. Can you talk about, as an actor, gut decisions you've made for roles? Maybe someone said, don't go for this role, but then you were like, no, I feel like a gut says to do this, or my instinct says to do this. Can you talk about that choice as an actor in your career?
Well, you know, it's funny you mention that, because it happened with this movie and Den of Thieves. I was just saying this in the last interview, that both those movies I had for many, many years. And there comes a time after a year or two, if you're not getting a script made, you're put under a lot of pressure to maybe just let it go. And there came times in both those movies where my agents were like, maybe we, you know, move on. But I so believed in both of them. I got these scripts within 2 weeks of each other, Den of Thieves and Hunter Killer, back in 2011. And sometimes this kind of movie, because it's a classic story, is harder to get off the ground. But then when you make it, it's gold. You know, and everybody, the perfect description of me was when a guy said, I didn't know I was waiting for a submarine movie, but then after seeing this, I realized, oh my God, was I waiting for a submarine movie? That's the best reaction you could get, you know. So I would say I had two big gut decisions on these two to stick with them, because I knew they were two classic movies being ready to be made.
We're sitting in D.C. right now. You got to go to the Pentagon yesterday, which is awesome. I was watching you at the podium. It was really cool to watch. And I'm curious what your experience was like there. Like, what was it like for you to be there? What did you see while you were there? What did it feel like to be at the podium talking about this film and kind of what was that like for you as an actor?
Well, the whole day, it was actually one of the biggest days I've had in my career, and I didn't realize that before I went. I knew I was visiting the Pentagon. I was very excited about that because I've made a lot of movies about the Pentagon, and I was going to be meeting the head of the Navy and 4-star admirals, and maybe I was going to meet James Mattis, but that didn't transpire, and he wasn't there. But going through those corridors, seeing all these legendary figures as paintings on the wall, and just having the structure of the place, the history of the place laid out by all these incredible people, and then being put in front of the jury. I didn't quite realize it was going to be like that. I knew I was doing a press conference. There was an element of a double take as I walked out to the podium and went, "That's the Pentagon." And so it was, and I'm glad that I didn't, because it allowed me to take it more in my stride. But then again, the fact is, I'm so proud of the movie we made. I'm so grateful to the Navy for helping me that I was just going up there to speak my truth, and say, with this, to talk about my experiences on the movie and talk about, how proud I am of the movie and how much the movie liked it, because the Navy liked it, because if they hadn't liked it, they wouldn't have been putting me up in front of the, in front of the Pentagon sign to speak to the world's press about a movie that they backed.
And 2 more quick questions for you before I go. One of the things that while you were up there, and this was a press topic that came about the Saudi Arabia element of it, and you had to address that. And it was actually like watching like it was like a news conference, almost like you talk about the decision not to go there. I mean, obviously I think it's the right move, but can you talk about the decision, how hard that was as an actor who wants to promote his movie, who's proud of his movie, that now can't go there or just decide not to go there?
Yeah, because it was well, one, I like what you said, that wasn't lost on me either, that I was suddenly answering questions to Barbara Starr from CNN on Saudi Arabia, thinking, okay, this is, I just start to feel a little bit like the president himself.
Like it's real,
addressing the press corps. Yeah, it was real. The Saudi Arabia thing was a big disappointment. It's not a particularly pleasant situation that happened, and we came across it the day before. We were about to fly, and so I felt, for us, I was disappointed because we were really excited. That's, kind of branching into new ground, going to Saudi Arabia to take our movie there, and there was a massive amount of interest there, and they had thousands of fans coming just to the outside part, and they put on, and the movie company itself they invested so much in that decision, and in good faith, and had nothing to do with anything else going on, but there's no way we could have made that trip. None of us felt good about it, so we just thought, let's stay away, and then would have been happy for that decision to have been made without the press, but the word got back to them, and then it became a thing. Much more of a thing than I thought until I stood in front of Barbara Starr from CNN at the Pentagon.
And last question before I go. One of the things I love about you as an actor are the roles you've chosen over your career. I mean, you mentioned Law Abiding Citizen, which I love. You worked with some of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I'm obsessed with Zack Snyder. I think he's an absolute genius. I was just curious, from that set, working on all that green screen, which was really cool, but it was like revolutionary what he was doing at that time. What do you take from Snyder and still use today in a role like this? Like in Hunter Killer, what's something that in the back of your mind goes, oh, Snyder kind of gave me that tidbit of information?
Zack Snyder, I tell you what he gave me, and it was more about my humanity as an actor on set rather than necessarily performance, because a lot of what we did together on that movie was learning on the fly. None of us had ever really worked with that amount of green screen, and it was a quick learning process of, I don't think many people had worked with that amount of green screen. It was a quick learning process of thinking up, coming across these massive ideas and then having to minimize it and internalize it and make it all truthful. But what I loved about Zack was I never met a guy with such passion from the second I met him. We had a cup of coffee, we started talking about the movie, and the next minute, the two of us are jumping about outside this coffee shop, and I'm talking about how the Spartans would walk, and he's up going, yeah, like this, and carrying this. But more than that was his humanity as a director, because he was so cool. He never lost his temper once, and that was a very stressful movie. And I always remember there was a particular moment when somebody messed up and they dropped something and it broke on the ground and it smashed everywhere, and they felt terrible. It was like a crew member, and they were holding up the whole set, and most other directors would have had words to say and let them know. Zack deliberately went over and made a joke with them, just to make them feel better. And I saw them smile. I could literally see their shoulders relax, and I found him like that the whole way through the movie. And he was also so athletic and talented. He's the kind of guy you go, okay, you got to throw that spear and you got to get it in that X. And I'm like, how can I? It's not this. And he'll go, well, like this, boom, through the middle of the X, rips a hole in the curtain out the other side, hits the wall.